Hello, hello, hello. You're listening to the Liverpool Improvisation Festival interviews. I'm joined now by Nathan Dean from A Very Capable Boy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're so excited to learn about your show. But before I get into that, I've been asking everybody who their improvisational ancestors are. So, what other people
Oh,
or existing media inspired the show that you're bringing to Liverpool?
yeah. So we're definitely part of like the improv tradition versus the pro tradition, you know.
Mhm.
Not that we have anything against the improv tradition. It's obviously wonderful, and we do lots of shows with improv people as well. But yeah, so me and Greg, who's my partner and a very capable boy, were both trained at the Free Association in London,
Brilliant.
which is a long form theatre. They kind of focus on scene and Right Citizens Brigade kind of type, that kind of lineage of improv. So we're from that school of thought. Yeah, I guess like in terms of specific people, we were taught by people like David Elms, who's also going to be at the festival doing
Yeah.
his David Elms Describes a Room Share. He was my first teacher at the FA. Other people like uh, Chris Gow, Alison Pierce Scott, Graham Dixon, lots of Free Association people, Alex Holland, who the kind of all the teachers at the Free Association who we admire a great deal. Um, I guess other than that, our show is this. I suppose the style that me and Greg started, like with having in mind when we started doing the show a couple of years ago, and Dave as well.
Hmm.
I think we've read them, both seen their shows a few times, and like wanted to try doing something like that. I think we've kind of expanded away from just trying to copy them a little bit now, but that still is yeah, remains as like an influence on our and two performers that we admire incredibly. So yeah, I think those are the what was it, improvisational ancestors of the show. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, if it started out in a TJ and Dave style, where is it now? What is the show that you're bringing?
So the show is it's a very free form. Um, it tends to involve like we try and make it how to describe it. So like we still have the TJ and Dave element in that we try and play characters very truthfully.
Hmm.
And we try and like have characters who have realistic emotional responses to things as well. Um, and like not shy away from scenes that go, sad or dramatic or whatever, as well as just trying to be funny. Um, I think like we've started to put our own spin on it a little bit more is like I think we've seemed to introduce some more like surreal elements and some elements of like kind of, sort of magic realism of it sometimes and a bit more like weirdness.
Hmm.
Uh, it seems to have been what's come into the show over the last sort of 6 months or so. As opposed to it, well, I think when we first started, it was like very, very grounded and very like very, very slow and very very subtle. Whereas now I think we try and still play in a very like emotionally truthful way, but like adding a lot more color into it. And there's kind of I don't know, a bit more like bit of I don't know, like Rick and Morty to balance out the Royle Family side of it as well.
Okay, well, Rick and Morty and Royal Family are two words you don't often hear in the same sentence. Um,
Yeah, trying to merge them, yeah.
is it a story or is it disparate scenes or?
No, yeah, yeah, it tends to be we don't have any like format for it before
Mhm.
we start. It tends to be scenes. Yeah, each scene is usually separate and is usually like about I mean, by the nature of it being two prov.
Hmm.
Um, Scene is usually like a sort of in-depth dive into a particular relationship
Hmm.
between two people. Um, and some of them are like, uh, some of them are, uh, some of them run very long. So sometimes we'll do like a 10, 15, 20 minute scene,
Hmm.
and then, mix it up by doing some very short ones as well. And occasionally characters will come back and we often we seem to have like little, I don't know, little Easter eggs that pop up and run
Hmm.
throughout shows. So like, do you know Lilt, the soft drink?
No.
That seems to pop up a lot in our shows.
Hmm.
Wagon Wheels, the biscuits. Jimmy Nail, who I'm sure you won't know, was a singer in the 1980s and 90s. Just like weird, obscure things that we both have as like cultural reference points that pop up a lot in our
Hmm.
shows. Seem to give a bit of structure to it. But yeah, so there is structure that emerges within it, I think, but it's not planned and it's not narrative.
Do you want the scenes to feel like sketches? Like, is there that UCB style escalation of the humorous thing?
Um, not especially, no. Like I think so me and Greg both, as I say, both trained at the Free Association, and then we were both on one of the House Herald teams there.
Hmm.
So we have done a lot of like that kind of UCB game of the sea escalation, heightening stuff. Um, and I think we do bits of that, but it's more like just because I don't know, that's sort of in our bones from how much we've done it in other contexts. We don't really do it on purpose in these shows, but it does sort of, it does sort of come out like we will spot game and like, and it will come back and it will heighten, but like we do a lot of resting of those games and
Hmm.
we don't make them the focus, especially. I don't think uh it's more like relational and a bit of world building, I would say, is are the focuses of the show.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Well, the next question that I have for you is, why are you doing this show? Well, what was the journey from starting? How did you pick to play with Greg, and how did you pick the show that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So it's got a very definite answer to it, actually. Um, so me and Greg, I first met Greg it would have been 2019, doing a level three class at the Free Association. Do you know the Free Association? I realize I've mentioned it a few times, but I haven't
I've been
explained what
there
it is.
once. I saw the opening night at their
Oh, have
new
you?
theater. Uh,
Oh, did you? Amazing. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
cool venue, right?
Yeah, very cool. My
Um,
God, the thrust stage. I was like, whoa, this is nice.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We've done a few shows there in the new venue actually. But anyway, um, so yeah, I first met Greg doing level three at the Free Association, which for people who don't know is also a school as well as a theatre. And level three is their advanced, yes. So yeah, I first met Greg doing that, and then. They didn't start performing with him until maybe 2022. So he was in a team called Party Barge, and I wanted to join a team, and they were like I was friends with all of them, so I just asked if I could join, and they very kindly said yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so we were performing together in Party Barge, and then we both got cast in the same FA house team, which is called Triple Denim, and then. Uh, Me and another performer called Aram Balakian, who is one of the kind of driving forces behind the new FA venue, we started doing a improv, but then we just kept asking other people to join in until that became another group, which is still going and is called Fluff. Um, and then I was also writing a lot of sketches at the time
Mhm.
and Greg performed in two of the sketch shows that I put on. So basically, me and Greg were just doing so much performing together, um, and uh, we'd probably been doing that for like a couple of years, and I think we both just had a sense that like we I don't know, we shared a lot of like cultural references that like
Mhm.
not everyone else that we knew did. Like we like a lot of the same quite obscure music and stuff like that and films and things. Um, and we just seem to have like a weird connection on stage. Like I think quite often one of us can think something and the other one will know what they're thinking without saying it and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So, and I think that probably largely came out of the fact that we were just doing so many different things together. Anyway, I then booked a theatre to another sketch show, but for various reasons, I just didn't get around to writing it in time. Um, and basically, because I'd already committed to like renting this theatre space and I had to pay for it anyway, I just said to Greg, "Well, do you want to do a improv show?" Um, which like seemed I don't think either of us had done a full hour's improv show before. Never mind, like just the two of us. But I thought we'd be good at it, and so we decided to. Greg obviously agreed because he agreed to do it. Um, and yeah, we just had such a great time, and like I think we just share like a creative, I don't know. I think we just have the same goals for what we want to do in improv. And yeah, like I say, we like share uh, influence and just things that we like, and so I think we've both just wanted to carry on doing it. So that was like 2 years ago, and we've just yeah carried on doing more and more shows, and we do pretty much every show going. And if there's a room, if there's some people in a room above a pub in London,
Mhm.
in improv, we'll be there at some point doing our show.
Wow, what a journey. What luck. And that's one of those lucky but unlucky situations when you got the theater and it didn't
Yeah.
work out. Uh, but probably more than
Mhm.
anything that the sketch show could have done for you. I'm curious, you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
mentioned your goals. Do you,
Mm.
what would you say would you align you and Greg's goals to be?
Oh, I don't think we've ever sat down to like articulate it in that way necessarily, but I think we both have a sense that like anything you can express in any other form of comedy or any other art form even, like can do that in improv, right? And like I'm this is just my view. I'm not gonna speak for Greg here, but like uh I mean I've spent a lot of time stand up. I used to work in that whole world and had a lot of clown and stuff, and like I've seen some brilliant clown shows and stuff, but like one of the things that I personally find like a bit frustrating is when people write off improv and sort of then go off and do stand up and clown and things and just, think that improv is just very throwaway, right?
Hmm.
And like I very much believe that like improv has the potential to be every bit as deep and rich and moving and funny as any other form of comedy, and has as much room for like artistic exploration and expression as any other form of comedy. And so I think probably, and this is where I'll bring Greg back in and express a joint view rather than just my own opinion. I think like you just want to try and like the goal is to just see like yeah how creative we can be within improv,
Hmm.
and like how much how like what depth of things we can express and to just explore it to like its maximum potential.
Hmm. And what do you think that maximum potential is? Is there anything in your improv recently that struck you as a moment of, wow, I didn't realize this was possible?
um yeah, there was one show maybe 6 months ago that we did that sticks in my mind where we had been like doing uh this was at like a mixed bill gig.
Hmm.
So we'd done like maybe 20, 25 minutes or something. And uh yeah, it had all been like fairly like fairly like light, funny stuff up to that point, or at least to be funny. Um and then we did this scene, and yeah, I guess you're an improviser yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like like when you're doing a scene and like it just something's not quite right, you're like, I don't quite know what the relationship is, or I don't quite know what's happening here or something. And I think we both were just like sensing that there was some awkwardness about it, right? And we were playing two like frat boy college guy kind of types. Um and yeah, after a minute, like I said like something feels awkward here. What's going on? I was like, I'll just say I'll make my character say what the improviser is thinking, right? And then like Greg just leapt on it straight away, and like I was like, okay, now it's awkward for the characters rather than for the improvisers. Like as
Hmm.
improvisers, we're both engaged with like each other more than we were because we just said what was happening. Said that it felt awkward, and then it turned into the scene where like Greg's character, like turned out that his character was gay and was in love with my character, and these two like kind of frat boy bros just like having this moment where they just and then we just like played that completely straight and played it completely real and just had that conversation as we imagined those two characters would have it without trying to do any laughs or anything, and just yeah, like ended the set with like 3 minutes of just kind of silence really, and not going for any laughs, and not and yeah, just going for something that was like a little bit deeper maybe.
What, 3 minutes of
And so I
silence?
think we definitely yeah, yeah, something like that. Um and yeah, we try and like make space for that side of like
Hmm.
the emotional spectrum as well as like the funny side of it. But yeah, like I say, like we quite often end up doing scenes that are like 10, 15, 20 minutes long because like we're just, getting into exploring the actual relationships between characters who hopefully are fairly rounded and fairly real.
Hmm.
Which is
Beautiful.
not to say we don't do really stupid stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's room for both. There's always room for both.
Mm,
Why is the show called A Very Capable
absolutely.
Boy?
That's just a line from Bob's Burgers,
I have not
the
seen it,
TV
but what's
show.
the
Um,
line?
it's a great show. I'd really recommend watching it.
Hmm.
There's just a bit where Bob owns a burger restaurant, and his kids all work in the restaurant with him, and Bob's son complaining that his dad doesn't respect him or doesn't think he works hard enough or something. And then Bob says, "Gene, you're a very capable boy." And I don't know, it just stuck in my head. I've got a document on my phone with just like words and like bits of dialogue that I hear that I think are like good names for improv teams and sketch titles and stuff. So I just wrote it down in there, and then when we started doing it, I just pulled it out of that. So it doesn't have any particular meaning beyond that.
But if one of you two was the very capable boy, who would it be? You or Greg?
Greg,
Greg.
yeah, definitely Greg.
Greg.
Absolutely. I mean, you should see Greg act. I mean, he's incredible. Like he is exceptionally capable. Um, I think I sort of jokingly said to Greg one time, I think the reason that we work as a duo is because each one of us thinks that the other one's better than them. So like, yeah, I'm sort of in awe of Greg as an actor and a performer. So I would definitely cast him as the very capable boy.
Brilliant. And it sounds like Greg maybe would cast you then. That's the way you want it to be.
Perhaps.
Um, I'm curious about what sort of challenges have you faced in creating the show that you got over through the process?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think sometimes like if you're trying to expand your idea of what improv is, I think each time you do that, you add another plate to spin, you know.
Hmm.
And I think often when we learn improv, at a particular school or a particular teacher, they will have like a very set definition of what they think improv is. Um, and that's usually not the only thing that they think, but for the purposes of teaching it, they'll tell you like this is how it works, you know. Um, And I think the reason people do that is because it gives you quite a fixed number of plates that you have to spin at any one time. You know, you might have to, right, I've got to say who, what, and where.
Hmm.
I've got to then find a game. Then I've got to heighten the game.
Hmm.
And that's quite, you can keep those three things in your head. But then I think if you then want to expand that and go, oh, and then we want to play characters that are like emotionally truthful and like respond in realistic ways, then that's another plate to spin, right?
Hmm.
And like, if you're also going, okay, and I want to like focus on the physicality of my character and like make sure that my characters don't all stand and walk the same way, and I want to like have different accents for my characters, and you just add more and more and more things, right? Uh, and so I think that we've occasionally in creating the show, as we've striving to get better as improvisers, sometimes you add one thing and then another thing kind of drops out for a while. I think something that we did have when we started like this idea of like trying to make it very emotionally truthful and have
Hmm.
characters respond in realistic ways. Um, Sometimes we would just end up in scenes with like characters who were just being realistic, but in quite a boring way, because like
Hmm.
lots of life is just quite boring, right? If you just see a slice of most people's lives on most days, it would be quite dull. So it was then realizing, oh no, we do, we need to also have ways to like add an engine and add some drive scene. So I think, yeah, so I guess the challenge is just like trying to maintain the good practice in every part of your improv at the same time.
Hmm.
And I think the way that we've overcome that is by being really explicit about like we need to like never thinking that like we've we don't never slacking off, and like we still rehearse with a coach before every show. Are quite like self-reflective about like what we need to work on and what strengths and weaknesses are and things like that. So it's kind of, yeah, I think by treating it as like a process of like learning and improvement has kind of
Hmm.
helped us overcome those things really.
Do you always play with the same coach, or is it different people that depending on what you're working on?
Yeah, um we have a friend of ours called Laura Riseborough.
Hmm.
Since we started doing it, she was the first person who coached us. She's a fantastic improviser and actor. She's a teacher at the Free Association as well. Um, and yeah, she's been like our main coach for I guess yeah, nearly a couple of years now. And then we've occasionally worked with other people. So I did a practice with David Elms a few months ago that was really great. And trying to think if there's been anyone else. But anyway, yeah, we occasionally mix it up if there's something specific that we want to work on,
Hmm.
or just to have a change of perspective. But yeah, Laura's been our main person who we've worked with a lot.
Hmm. Is what would you say is the best piece of wisdom or advice you've received from Laura while working with her?
Uh, wow. Well, I'm struggling to come up with a specific piece of advice she's given me, but I
It,
don't want that to come across like giving me any, 'cause she's given
it
me loads.
it could also be
Um,
what kind of like influence do you think she's had on the show, or what stylistically, how's the show evolved from her
yeah.
coaching?
So Laura's an incredible actor. That's her profession as well as being an improviser. A really, really talented actor. Um, and like as I say, Greg is a trained actor. He was a professional actor for 10 years, went to RADA and all this.
Hmm.
Um, Whereas I like don't come from that background at all.
Hmm.
So I think that Laura's advice on like how to improve those like aspects of my like performance. Because I think often think of improvisers as being like either coming from a performer, an acting side, or from a writing side, right?
Hmm.
And like I think much more come at it as like, well, I'm a writer who like acts to the extent that I need to express what I write,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and yeah, Laura has really helped me I mean, I'm certainly nowhere near as good of an actor as Greg, but she's helped me not be like embarrassingly worse than him, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, so there's that, and then I think Laura also like she is a really, really experienced teacher, and I think a lot of people can be great improvisers without being good teachers necessarily. But I think one thing that Laura does really well is that she like conceptualizes how she thinks improv works, and she has like a little model of how different parts of improv work, which makes it easier to like break down what you need to work on or what's not working about a show.
Mhm.
So I think yeah, that kind of for me personally, like acting thing has been a big help and a big influence that she's had me. And then I think for the show as a whole, um, she's like her approach to teaching and coaching has by like conceptualizing different parts of the performance has helped her probably improve it much quicker than it would have improved without her.
Mhm.
That was quite a long and rambling answer.
No, it's
Did that make
great.
any
That
sense?
I feel like the pursuit of the acting side is like a really important part of it, and it's interesting to hear that
It's really hard.
the duo is one writer and one actor. That kind of covers all your
Yeah,
bases.
yeah. I think maybe that's the source of why we both think the other one's better because the other one both like focuses on whatever we each, don't focus on.
And you can learn from each other then too.
Yeah, I have absolutely learned a heck lot from Greg. I remember when like Greg is the only person I've ever seen perform who I was just like, he's so good, I should just give up and stop trying. And I remember like when I first started performing with him and another friend of ours, Sarah Lewis, who is like a professional actor as well. Um, like I just remember feeling like an absolute like grumpy idiot child compared to them on stage because they were just such actors, and like just performing with regularly has just like it did just force me to like up my game at it. It kind of just dragged me along until I was, again not as good as them, but like better than I was and like a passable actor, I think,
Yeah.
if I say so myself.
I mean, and I'm sure they probably feel the same way about the writing side of things and coming in and thinking about what comes
Yeah,
next.
maybe,
And
I don't know.
you'll see. We'll have to get Greg on as the interview. Is this is playing on the festival circuit something you've been doing, or is this the first festival you're applying to, or what made you choose Liverpool?
Um, so we did Gothenburg Improv Fest last summer, which was really, really fun. I would highly recommend it. It's a wonderful city, lovely people. Yeah, just so much fun and so nice to meet. So nice to meet people from like different improv theaters and scenes around the world. Um, can you hear my dog barking outside? Um, anyway, but yeah, Liverpool. So I'm from Crewe, if you know, far from Liverpool. Um, uh, maybe half an hour from Liverpool. So I'm from the northwest anyway, so I know Liverpool fairly well. And there's like quite a connection between like the Liverpool scene and London scene. We fairly often like have people from Liverpool down visiting and shows down there. And then I should have mentioned me and Greg met Jen in Gothenburg. Um, and yeah, we really, really loved her show. It's so cool and unique and different from anything we'd seen. And yeah, Jen, that we should apply to Liverpool, and so we did, and we're very happy to, and are like very, very happy to be coming. Yeah,
That is a
but
very common theme
I
among
my
the
just my
people I've
thoughts on
interviewed. Is they meet
is
Jen
it?
Hardy, and Jen, she's got an eye for great shows. Yeah.
It's very kind. Um, yeah, but it's like I think it's so great to do these festivals because I didn't quite get it before I went into Gothenburg. Like I thought it would be fun and I was really happy to go. But like it didn't occur to me just like how much it would feel like a sort of big like like in American TV shows like Malcolm in the Middle, where they have like a massive like family reunion, and
Hmm.
there's all these like cousins from all around the world who are there. And I was like, it felt so much like that. I was like, oh, these are like all my like family members in a way who I don't know, but it's like people who are like part of my community.
Hmm.
And like, it's so nice because you meet people and you immediately have like a shared language, and and you have this like I don't know, you just like-minded people, right? And then yeah, you get like invited to do other things or like invited to like come or a workshop somewhere or people like ask you to go to a show somewhere. So I think it's really like it's a lovely thing to do and I'm yeah, super 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 excited to come to Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be fun. Do you have any Liverpool recommendations if you're familiar with the city?
I'm not that familiar with the city.
Not that familiar. All right.
People in Liverpool won't like this, but I spend more time in Manchester than I do in Liverpool,
Oh,
unfortunately.
oh no, don't say that here.
I'm gonna get disinvited now,
Yeah, I can edit that out. Go back.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you would like to share about the show that you feel like you've missed so far, or should people just come see it to figure it all out?
Um, yeah, I don't know what more I could say really, because it's not like we have like a theme or like we have a narrative or a structure or anything. Like, I mean, there is a theme, but it's more like a vibe, It's like it's these like weird little Easter eggs that pepper through it that are like they're not themes anyone else would pick up on necessarily, but they're just things that we tend to notice. But like I would say that like if people like something that's trying to be a bit different and like has a bit of weirdness to it, but also um is like uh um yeah, like a bit dramatic as well as funny. Um, I think they will hopefully enjoy it. I think our press release says it's for fans of what is it, Royle Family, Rick and Morty, and something else. Broad City, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, we try and like give it some weight as well as being funny and weird.
Uh-huh.
And we're just like genuinely thrilled when anybody comes to see it. We're like so humbled by that. So if anybody wants to come, you'll be really making us feel good at the very least.
Yeah, and you can come on Saturday the 9th of May 2026 at 6 p.m. in the Unity Theater, Liverpool.
Yes, please, please do. Please, please do. We're so excited to be coming. And
Mhm.
well, anybody who's listening to this, if they can make it, should also go and see David Ebbs' show the day before. We know him very, very well, and he is fantastic, and the show is fantastic. So I'm just going to plug him as well.
That's brilliant. Cross promotion. That's the way they fill the seats. All right. Thank you so much for
I bet
coming
he's not going
on.
to cross promote us, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Hal. I appreciate it. It's lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you, and I'll see you in Liverpool.